Great greeting, everyone. Greeting, good morning, good afternoon, good
Good evening.
evening from across the globe. Today, from the channel South Sudan Women Intellectual Forum, we all gathered here to invoke your thinking and to actually share insights to untold stories of some of our elites and some of our hardworking South Sudanese women. It's a pleasure today. I am called Jihan Jihan Meshach Deng, and today I'm honored and pleased to moderate a very important subject, and which is education.
You keep catching.
And so, with me, I have some phenomenal, exceptional women who looked inside and looked for more. Education in Latin is explained as edesio,
My mic is
educare,
muted.
and which means to lead and to come up or come out. And so, in the subject of higher education, adult education, sometimes we have understanding that it's someone who just started education from a very old age, which is very unlike the case. Maya Angelou says that let us higher education or adult education precisely, it's the agony of untold stories. That is her description. And so without taking much time, with me today at the panel, I have our professor, Dr. Julia Duane, former Vice Chancellor of Dr. John Garang University of Science and Technology. I also have in the panelists Honorable Mary Ayen Majuk, member of the Council of States and a chairperson of a commission on legislation. We have also Madame Grace Musa, and she's also a psychiatrist, and she's going to share about her experience and her journey. We also have Madame Lily Basaronga. She's with us here and will tell us her agony of untold story of learning and pursuing, and also why at this age did she have to go to education? What made her up to pursuing education after starting marriage? We know very well a nation like ours is an urban nation, but in the making, South Sudan is a nation that is more of rural than urban. And though we know that women are higher in percentages, we also know that are also marked as illiterate, though they're high in percentage. Today we want to provoke that one. We want to challenge those factors and to hear from our panelists. So I would like to actually start the discussion and ask Professor Julia to please give us a brief intro about your journey in education. Thank you. Professor Julia. Can you unmute? Can you unmute? Do you hear me? Are you able to hear me? Okay, we will try and see. We've been having technicality, technology in its best, and we are trying to get the attention of Professor to join us in the discussion right now. All right. So meanwhile, we have many reasons for us to be able to pick up on education. And one of it is to help us progress with the changes. The world is changing every day. We also know that education can help us get an understanding of how to handle certain circumstances. Education is very essential to gain new knowledge, new skills. As well, it's good for active mind. Professor Julia, is your turn. I want you to be able to introduce yourself. Unmute your phone and join us. Thank you. So, can you unmute? Okay. Her internet is a little bit on the slow side. No problem. We will work on it. Aisha is at the background there, and she'll try and pick us up. We have one of our panelists here. It's a pleasure to be able to have Honorable Mary Ayen. She is someone who pursued education from a very young age, and she didn't stop. Would you please, Honorable Ayen, introduce yourself as we go into learning about you and your journey of untold stories of education?
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Jihan, and thank you, Aisha, at the background there. I greet all my sisters here in the panel, and I'm honored really to be among the discussant today as we are discussing one of the most important topics for us as South Sudanese in general and women in particular, because tackling and talking about issues of education and issues related to women empowerment, I think are very fundamental, because education is a tool for transformation of societies, transformation of individuals' mindsets and attitudes, transformation of our societies as well, and very important for building our nations. And I think from the experience, looking at the growth and the progress of all nations, we see that most of the countries, or all the countries that invested more in education, did accelerate their development progress. And you can see also their economic growth, where there is high rates of education and literacy. You will see there is accelerated development and progress. And that's why I believe if we want South Sudan to be at the level of other countries, then we need to invest more, and maybe to allocate more investment on education, because for individuals to have skills and knowledge, it is through education, different types of it, but mainly we know that all the three forms of, or the many forms of education, if we are talking about the formal one where people go through institutions, if we are talking about the informal forms of education, I think where this adult education falls under, or if we are talking about the non-formal types of education where all individuals are subjected to it throughout their life, because it is can be through our families in the environment where we are living. So my own experience with undergoing education, I think I feel blessed that I was among the generation that was not always blessed to have access to education, because by then I was born in mid 70s. I'm not as Jihan mentioned that maybe I went to school very early. It was not because maybe I started at the age of 6. I did not start at kindergarten schools. So, but the circumstances and the events of the conflict, we have to relocate to where we were in the south. We went to Khartoum, and there we were seeing the children going to school, and we told my father that please, we want to join them. That was a bit after the age of going to kindergarten. Then when I reached to the level of secondary school, I was married off, And this is another story that but what happened is that it was before I even started my university. So I think the story here that I'm always happy to share with my daughters, with other young generations, with other girls and young leaders that I'm coaching and I'm mentoring is that education has no age limit, and it's about commitment, it's about dedication. After when I was married, I talked to my husband that please, all my, I feel that my goals are I have to finish my education. So I started from there. I miss like the first year I did not, because uh, by then I was not very young, because I was maybe at 19, and I'm saying not very young, looking at the age of where girls nowadays are married off in my communities. So I started, and there were challenges of balancing between the family and the school, but I did well. And that was also an encouragement to the husband, to my husband, and to the family, that we can do it. So this is the story I used to tell the those young generation, that even if you are married, it doesn't mean that's the end of your education. You can still.
Honorable Ayen, I'm
Yes.
sorry, but because of time, I think your story is really phenomenal. But allow me to take you through a very precise, as a policymaker, what are your thoughts on the policies that we have right now as a member of Council of State? We know very well we have the legislation, the National Assembly, and we have Council of State. And these are two law bodies within the country that is governed by the executive, legislation, and judiciary. And as a member of Council of State in the decentralized commission, and somebody who worked before as a head of the commission for gender and social welfare, I believe so much in addition to your personal story, you also have some insights into the policies that assist women education. Could you shed highlights on that?
Yes, thank you very much. Once more, Jihan, Honorable. Yes, South Sudan is an independent country, and as a member of the United Nations,
Mm-hmm.
We are part of the global community,
Yes.
so that there are number of treaties and number of conventions that South Sudan is a signatory to it, beginning with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, where Article 26, it's about the right to education.
Right.
And I believe personally, as I mentioned earlier, as education is important to everyone. It's a right also, it's not a privilege where some people are supposed to be entitled and some are not. No, it's a right that's supposed to be provided for each and everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where, as South Sudan, we have the General Education Act, which
Right.
is not the
Mm-hmm.
subject of our education, because when we talk about the General Education Act, we talk about this the where the children started the gradual education system from up to the secondary school. So again, also we have our national constitution, is a very important document, where we have also Article 29 of it talk about the right to education to everyone. We have number of other regional and international, like the Maputo Protocol, which is the protocol to the African Charter on Human and the Rights of People, right on the rights of women, which is known as, it is very detailed on issues to do with women empowerment. And I'm bringing it in particular because South Sudan has ratified it. We have ratified number of international and some regional, like we ratified also the 13 the United Nations Security Council Resolution number 1325. But the Maputo Protocol is more detailed on issues to do with education. We have also domesticated the NAP which is I just mentioned the UN Security Council Resolution 1325. We ratified it, and we have our national action plan. The South Sudan also has ratified the Convention on Elimination of all forms of violence against the discrimination against women, that the CEDAW. And we have also the strategic national plan, the South Sudan strategic plan, that is 2018 to 2021. Education is also core in it. But if we are to be, these are all generally about education, but specifically on education, on adult education, this is one of the policies under the Ministry of General Education. And recently, the Ministry of General Education has presented a policy on alternative education. And this policy, it's from 2022 to 2027, where there are specific programs and activities that will help to for those who missed those gradual education to be back to their school, even if they are working in their various institutions. Like for some of us, even in the parliament, those who left schools at early classes will be able to continue. So this is more specific on adult education, this policy presented by the Minister of General Education. Jehan, I'm not hearing you. Are muted.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate you so much, Honorable Mirayen, for giving us highlights and the policies and quoting the articles within the constitutions. I want to move on. Unfortunately, we are still trying to get Professor Julia, who is an educationist by profession. And until she comes on board, I would like to move on to Madame Lily Bosaranga, who is a psychiatrist, and she has a very interesting also personal story on aspiring to reach out. She was married in a young age, and then she decided to come back after having her children to pursue education. And so we want to know what actually inspired her, what motivated her, and she can just give us a one line on herself. Thank you. You're muted. Can you unmute, Madam Lily? Thank you so much. Come on board, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Before I go ahead, I would like to thank all the women, the South Sudanese women in this forum. I know we have all the stories to talk about with all what we had been going through in our country. I really respect women who are in this forum, not only respecting, but I really cherish them because I know the milestone or the breakthrough they had through their life to come here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for coming together as women of South Sudan. Basically, as we know, going back to school is, or in old age or as a young adult, it's not really easy. Mm-hmm. It's full of challenges, but however, there should be a reason that always make us to go back to school. Why did I go back to school? First of all, I wanted to be a role model to my sibling. I wanted to be a role model to my children. It actually motivated me so much to go back to school. It wasn't easy between work, family, and school. But having that in mind, that I have to be a role model to my kids, it motivated me so much. And again, looking at the economy. When I left high school, I didn't sit home, I was working. But looking at the experience of South Sudan, we used to have something called expatriates in South Sudan who used to come and train us. And in most cases, it turned that we were training them. And I was like, I've been in one position for like 3 years, and I could do all the roles within the office, or implementing all the projects. So I was like, how long am I gonna stay here getting only $5 doing all the work? I was like, no, I need to change. I have to go back to school. If it means going back to school, I have to go. So I have to make sure I made a change in my position. And I went back to school. I actually, when I came back, I was not only getting the $5, instead I tripled the $5. And that motivated me more. I was like, I think I have to go. It's not only, this is not the only the end of education. I think I have to go as long as I can be able to afford, because it has made a big change in my life and the change of my family. Also, why I like decided again, what motivated me is like the advance in the career. I was trained in the job and I could do it perfectly, but I couldn't go any more further because I was kind of limited with the skills that I had. So I needed more skills in order to climb the ladder. So I said, how do I climb the ladder? It's by going back to school to get that degree, because it was all about the degree. And I was so happy when I went for my first degree. It was kind of just like walk through. I was not thinking, I initially before I went, I was like, oh, will I really manage? But when I went to the classroom, I actually went when I was ready. I had the tools with me already from the field. So when I get to the classroom, I remember the first project that I was given. And when I worked on my project and I presented my budget, all the class was so quiet. The teacher was so amazed and was like, how did you get this? This is a professional way of doing it. It was not a shock for me because I did budgeting before I went to the classroom. After the high school, I got the job, but I need how to do the project. I need how to do the budgeting. So when I was asked to do that budget, I was so happy and I was so excited. And when I was presenting, I didn't have any doubt on me because I knew what I was presenting was actually what we need to have it. So with all this, that was really what motivated me to go back to school. And I was so happy. And up today, I still want to go back to school. Thank you. I'm not getting you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you so much for being able to give us highlights on your journey and your why. Why did you do your education? It's a very motivational. We have to always have something to motivate us, to aspire for, to move forward, to gain. And you just put it in the right way that in order for you to have a better position in your job, you need to acquire new tools and new skills and new expertise. This is phenomenal. We appreciate your sharing some of your aspiration. And we know that education, especially for adult education, which means you never stop learning after you finish your primary education and then secondary and further aspiring for it. With us in the panelists, we want to be able to, while we are waiting, I want to bring on board my sister here, Madame Grace Musa. If you could unmute and join us in the discussion here. So then Grace, we know she is a nurse, mental health, and it's very unique that adult education was explained as one of the tools that helps heal and mentor and restore the mindset of mentally health or mentally challenged persons. And so we are glad to have you on board, Madam Grace Musa, as an RN and as a psychiatrist at the same time. And I want you to take a minute or two and join us and give us a little bit background on your why and your motivation to join education even after you have settled in your family. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Jahan, Honorable Jahan, members of the panel. I'm so grateful to be invited to talk in this forum. I would like, before I begin, I would like to bring this quotation by a former professional footballer and now Liberian President George Weah. George Weah said education is a continual process. It is like a bicycle. If you don't cycle, if you don't paddle, it won't go, it will stop. So I began my journey. I came in this country in 1989 in UK. I based in UK. So I came here, I've got one child, a baby, 11 months old. And then I started working as a care assistant. Care assistant is like you're assisting a nurse in a mental health hospital. And then what inspired me is that I'm thinking, okay, I want to know more knowledge about this. And tomorrow I'm going back to my country. I will use this for it actually. So if I can do this, why can I just go and qualify it? Do my degree and qualify. So I found some challenges. And when I applied at university, they told me, no, this is Sudan School Certificate, we can accept you. I asked them, what can I do? They said, they've got something called access course to higher education. And they directed me to the right place. I did the course for 1 year, and that certificate, I entered to university. And why I brought this example of if you don't paddle, you'll stop, it will not go. Because when I finished successfully my certificate to go to university, I had my second child. Then I stopped. Then I could not pedal my bicycle. So I stopped. My baby's 1 year. I went back to do some short courses so that I will not forget things. And then after 3 years, I applied again at university. While I'm applying, I had another baby, which is the third baby now. And I was taken to a university called Bradford University. Then I cannot start because I had a baby. So we moved from the location where we are. We used to live in a place called Leeds. We moved to Manchester. And I applied in that Manchester University. I was accepted. And then I started. Unfortunately, my husband used to work in London. And he used to come every weekend. So 5 days a week, I have to juggle family, education. And in nursing, it's not easy because you have to do practical. Practical, you have to start at 7 o'clock in the morning. So therefore, nobody can take a child at 7 o'clock in the morning. I've got 7 years old, 5 years old, and a baby. I also stopped. I stopped pedaling my cycle, my bicycle. I stopped. And then we moved to London. I said, no, I'm not going to start. I stopped until my youngest is 8 years old and my eldest is 15. That's why I started my nursing. I've got a lot of support from my family. My husband took 2 days to work from home to help with the school run. And 2 days for 3 years, he worked 2 days from home to support me. And my eldest daughter was only 15 years old. She was so matured. She's helping. They will go to school together. And then the nanny will take her back, will pick her from school with her children. And then my daughter will bring her back. Sometimes if I got to study day, I will help. That's how I pedal.
This is
my bicycle. Yeah.
Right, Madam Grace. It's so phenomenal how you introduce your pursuit for adult education or for acquiring knowledge and skills and equating it to bicycling, and which doesn't move until you actually pedal. So we applaud you for your resilience. And we know South Sudan as a country that has undergone civil war for more than 2 decades, a lot of displacement, a lot of, we've got big communities living in the diaspora, and it's great to learn from you and from Lily. How did you get hold of the opportunities that you have to be able to equip yourself and gain more knowledge? I'm going to switch for a minute. Thank you, Professor Julia. If you're able to unmute, we welcome you back into the forum. Welcome, our Professor Julia Dwayne. She is a professor of educational leadership and a former, as I mentioned earlier, former Vice Chancellor, Dr. John Garang Memorial University of Science and Technology. She is also an educationist because she has acquired her master's and PhD in education. And so I want to be able to give her the floor. She had participated in many positions within the government, from being the Undersecretary for Minister of Parliamentarian Affairs and being able to participate. I don't know if you are aware, when we raised our flag 2011, actually South Sudan embarked on developing what we call South Sudan Development Plan. And we had it, there was a short plan for 3 years, 2011 to 2013. And then there was an extended plan, a long-term plan, 2011, 2040. And the whole development plan, Dr. Julia was part of it, our professor here, who drafted down how do we want to see ourselves from a nation emerging from conflict and displacement and setbacks to becoming developed. Late Dr. John Garang actually always used to mention that during the liberation movement, when we liberate our country, we are not going to start from zero. We will join the world from where the world is. We will plug in, and one of the areas was education and empowering an institution. Professor Julia, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to apologize for the ups and downs of the technology. Sometimes it throws us back and forth. You think that you have prepared yourself, but sometimes, you know,
right?
it kicks
you.
you.
Had a share of that setback, yes.
Yeah, it kicks you back.
Tell us, we want us to, just give us a one line of that will be able to give us a highlight. I know I tried to introduce you, but then could you please give us the honor of coming along?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. What is education? To me, education actually is a self, a self-determination. Even if you are pushed and you are given all the opportunities, and you have not determined yourself, you will not be able to do it. You have rich children, they have all the money, and sometimes they can drop out of school. And you have poor children, and sometimes they can make it through education. So self-education is self-determination. You free yourself. And you have seen so many people, when you're given that window of opportunity and you determine to make it, you will make it. And Eva I just heard from Grace what she was talking about, that she was able to manage herself with the children and go through to be able to have her degree. That is commitment and self-determination to have her education. And myself, I have 5 kids. 5 kids. When I came from a family, my father is a teacher. The first generation which went to the missionary school, and he multiple wives, and he said his kids will go to school, even the children. And he comes from the pastoral community. Would you say that the girls will not go to school because the girls will be married with the cattle so that the son can marry? But he said, my daughters will go to school. When we went to school, the whole village stood up. Why would you take all the girls to the school? What will your son marry with? When the daughters go to school, they will become, they will not come back to the village. They will end up in the town and they will become prostitutes. And what his answer to them was, yes, let them go to school. When they become prostitutes, they will be my prostitutes. And we went to school. All the girls, we went to school. And all my sisters, we went to school. Some become nurses, some become teachers. All of us, we became something. And we all came back home and we got married. And he told them, look at them. They are here and they all got married. I was privileged to have a husband who also liked education. When he came to propose, my father told him, this girl is determined. She wants more education. My husband said, yes, I would allow her to continue with her education. And he did. He allowed me to go back to finish my high school and allowed me to to go to college. When I went to college, I have 2 kids. When I said my school certificate, I was pregnant with my 3rd child. My last paper of high school certificate, the last paper, I almost broke the water in the last paper.
Wow.
I finished that paper and I ran home. The following day, I went to the hospital to have the baby. That's why I say it is self-determination, because you're determined to do it. If I wasn't not determined, I would have given up. I say, why would I? I have already got married. I have a home. I have a supportive husband, and I don't want to do it. But I determined to do it. And when I came to this country, when I came to United States, he also supported me. He said, you came with half a degree. You need to finish it. When I presented my grades, my credits to Indiana University, they all were accepted. And I finished 1 year and I have my degree. I say, okay, I'm done. Since I have my degree in my hand, my bachelor, I don't want anything to do. I will work since I have my degree. He said, no. I took the certificate, teaching certificate. I say, okay, I will teach, I will work. And he said, do you know when you will go back home? And when you go back to Sudan, what will you say? You don't know when the war will finish. Go back to classes. Do your masters. I said, where will I get the money? The Presbyterian Church helped me. They gave me the money. I did my master class by class. I have my master's degree. I said, okay, that's enough. He said, when are you going back to Sudan? He again pushed me. One by one, I took my classes, my PhD. I got my PhD. And it is true. This Sudan war was not getting finished until I have my PhD. And that PhD helped me when I went back home. It did help me. It prepared me to go back home. And that knowledge was able to help me to help my sister back home and help my country. Because that knowledge that I have, how many people have knowledge in this country? So many of them.
Right. I would like to quickly ask you, Professor Julia, as an educationist and someone who managed Dr. John Garang as the Vice Chancellor, what are your thoughts on South Sudan policies and regulation in relations to women precisely? I know we have our lawmaker, Honorable Mary, did quote some of those articles within the constitutions and the policies that were set in our parliament. But then from education institution, the one you managed yourself, and you also established various levels of educational institutions. How does it look for adult education? What are the policies that really emphasize and enhance women adult education?
You know, there are policies that were put in place. One of the policy is the Constitution of South Sudan. the Constitution provide, provide for women education, equal education for women in South Sudan. Also, there was educational policy 2012, uh, uh, which is general education policy for South Sudan 2012 is there. There was also 2012 higher educational policy, which give equal opportunity for women. And even it goes further in recruitment of, of, of women in higher education, and especially in science and technology.
Mm-hmm.
And especially women are lagging behind in science and technology.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of, 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 of recruitment, if there are vacancies that are women are competing with men, there should be a priority for women to be given to the women, because since they are lacking behind. So those seats should not be filled by men, they should be filled by women. And sometimes, since the women are lacking behind, they should be given that priority to be to be given to them. Those policies are there. There is also
Is there any incentives to be able to pursue the women? If you're saying women, they don't, they hide back. So what will be the incentive to attract them back into pursuing adult education within
yeah,
South?
there are incentive like the public service policy.
Mm-hmm.
The public policy is that when the women are working in the public service,
Right.
if they can go for further studies, they can be released with their salaries to go for further studies.
Right.
There is, they can go for further studies, they can be released. They can also have an incentive for their children. If they're going, overseas, there is incentive for their children, for like the tickets and the accommodation, and also extra little money, which is there. But sometimes, the way our people run things, they don't adhere to that to those policies. But that policy is there. Also, there is a policy if you find your own scholarship, then you will also be given some little money to top up that scholarship, so that you can be able to finish your studies. Those policies are there. They are there. And I remember when I was in public service, and when Rebecca was the undersecretary, she really pushed those policies. And when Madame Angit also came as undersecretary, she really pushed them very hard to see that. And a lot of women at that time went for further studies during the time when three of us were in the public service, to see that women goes for further studies.
So
In the universities also, there is also pushing of women to go for further studies, so that they become teaching, they become lecturers. When I went to Dr. John Garang universities, there were no women lecturers at that time. And it became one of our policies to see that we recruit women, and they were sent for further studies, so that they can have master's degree, so that they can now become lecturers. Most of the time, they are just teaching assistant, and teaching assistant, they just only sit in the lab and be able to assist the student, and they cannot become lecturers until you have your master's degree. Then you can be allowed to be.
Professor, I want to just interject here when you are saying that you are sending them, whether they gain a scholarship or you are sending them as an institution. If they are employees or if they were working, is there any policy that support an employee to go and pursue knowledge and education?
Yes, yes. When you send them, it means that you just send them circuit. You don't just send them
You
free.
pay for their salaries. Are their salaries secured afterwards?
Yeah, they go with their salaries and they have the scholarship. You know, they
Okay.
go the scholarship. Yeah, their salaries is there, and then there is a scholarship that they go with. And also we do find funding through USAID, through DFID. We provide scholarship also for this, for these women to go. Like we have with Egerton University in Nairobi, we have partnership with Egerton University. We take our women at Dr. John Garang University to go. We also have a funding which was provided by USAID, which took our women from the gender which I initiated gender equity and women leadership program. We brought 14 women to Indiana University.
Right.
Yeah, at that time. And also the second batch, which was in Juba University, which we have 12 women and 8 men, which were also sent for further studies with a scholarship full time. Yeah.
Fantastic.
You don't just send them, it's full time, their salaries and also their scholarship.
Thank you so much, Professor Julia, for giving us insight as an educationist and also someone who participated in institution building, making use of the knowledge that you've gained. And we notice very much that your contribution to adult education is very significant, and we appreciate taking time to join us and give us those insights and highlights and invoking our thinking. As many of us in this forum are members of diaspora, I want to be able to introduce our next panelist, Madame Rose Yoki. Thank you so much, Madame Rose, for joining us. She has a very interesting education journey. As someone who started, she had a passion to become a lawyer, perhaps, and she will tell us more. So she had 2 years in law school in Beirut in Arabic, and then she shifted from there and then joined psychology, and then she studied psychology and sociology, and again she decided. Apparently, she also had primary education and higher education and high school education in Arabic as a medium of education and instruction. And even after when she started university, School of Law, that was also in Arabic. So I like the shift that she made by going and studying English as a subject. And that is very phenomenal that she decided to pursue education, but because she was in diaspora, she wanted to be able to communicate better and maximize her knowledge and gain of expertise. And so she studied education, focusing in and concentrating in English. And then now she settled in Canada with her family, and she's able to help the refugees families to settle and with their communities, because we know very well as diaspora, before we are diaspora, we are refugees. And I remember there is a difference between the two communities. The same way back home in South Sudan, we are rural and then we are becoming urban. And the shift between the two, all of us, we go through it from ancient days, raised up in rural areas, and then urban becomes in, and we have from villages, we have cities. And we know Dr. John Garang was patient, and even the current leadership within our transitional constitution, as we have heard from our lawmakers here, that we are embarking and we are pursuing developing our nation from rural to urban, and education is one of the strongest tools, and therefore adult education is also a very strong tool for us to be able to do this shift And so our sister Rose Yaki here actually personalized that shift we are looking for. And I want to give her the floor to be able to tell us more about her journey. Yes, Rose, go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. People in South Sudan, I want to say good afternoon or good evening here.
Good evening.
My name is Rose Yokwe. I live in Canada, Edmonton, Alberta. I have 3 kids. My oldest one, she's 26. My middle one, he's boy. He's 20, and then the youngest one, she's 18. Recently, she turned 18. I came here to this lovely country, Canada, for about 20 years. I came from Beirut. When I went there, my mom sent me to study in Arabic University because I born in Khartoum. And then I grew up there. I went to South Sudan, like when I was in intermediate school. We always, every year, my dad sent us to go to the village to stay with my 2 grandma. They passed away. This why I study Arabic more than English, but and when I was in university, I studied a little bit English. You can see my accent. Yeah, I cannot change my accent because because I have another language. I speak different languages. I speak also Lebanese or Syrian or Egyptian. I can change my accent because I grew with Arab more than with Junubin. But still, I'm in Junub. When I was in Lebanon, I went there private, not a scholarship, private university. I studied 2 years law, and after that I stopped because was war in Lebanon that time, and then I went back to Khartoum. I stayed 1 year without going to school because I was scared to return back because was shelling between Lebanese and Israel. And then among themselves they fight too. This why I stay 1 year without school. And then after 1 year, I went back, and then because expenses of law, it is very expensive, and then to study law, it is not easy too. And I said, oh, this is not, I don't want to waste my time. I already wasted 1 year, and then this is 2nd year, better to switch in to become a social worker, to study psychology and sociology and anthropology. And then I end up quickly because if I'm gonna study sociology or psychology, it is cheaper than that. I don't want to lose my chance too. And then I switch, and then I finished 4 years straightforward. I finished, and then after finish, I came to Canada here. When I came to Canada, because of lack of language, I can express myself, but I cannot communicate myself like now. And then in my field, if I want to work in my field, I cannot able to work as a social worker. And I stay home with my 3 kids for until 2006. I went back to school again. Because my husband, I have a supportive husband, he encouraged me to go back to school. By that, because I was working in the daycare, but in the daycare, I get like $5 that time. But I said, what is the point? I studied like 2 years law and then 4 years to become social worker, and then coming to Canada, and then I'm working in daycare. Or it is not bad to work, but I need to fulfill my career. I need to work in my field. But coming to North America here, even though you have PhD, if you have degree from outside of Canada, you cannot able to work in your field. You have to go to the system. And then when my husband encouraged me to go back to school, when I start English as a second language. Mm-hmm. And then at that time I had a good teacher. They helped me. I have 2 teachers from Germany. They helped me a lot because I have that mindset. I have that attitude to award in my career. This is why always when they tell me something, I always take it serious, because I always see myself why I'm here. I need to work in my career. I always talk about positive about myself. I will do it. I will do it. If the Chinese came in this country, they speak different language, and then they change. Why me? I have to do it. And then they support me. The school support me in the university. They support me to read and write very well. And then after that, I finished my ESL. When I finished my ESL, a counselor advised me, because I want to do what's called master degree in psychology and counseling, and I want to be a counselor working at the school with the kids. But the counselor advised me, said, Rose, don't waste your time, because all your psychology, all your anthropology, you have stuff here very similar to Canada, but only you're lacking experience, Canadian experience. I'm gonna put you in this program. This program for people coming out from Canada, they can learn only the experience, and then they're gonna replace me to do like 3-4 months work experience in organization, working with women, abusive women in immigration. And then when they replace me, this called Changing Together for women, abusive women. And then I was there learning and sharing stuff and to gain my experience. And then I don't want to say I'm lucky. Maybe God opened me the chance. The ED in that organization linked me with University of Alberta, and then 5 different organizations. They had a project called Family First, to working with families, low-income families. They linked me to do this project, and then they interviewed me. I'm so lucky I got that while I'm doing my practicum in that organization until now. And then after that, I got a job. I'm working with immigrants. I teach parenting in 2 cultures. And then also I work with mainstream people like Canadian in general, white, and then native. Yeah. I'm so grateful, because education, it is a powerful tool. It is powerful tool. It helped me to overcome my barriers. And to handle myself and in the public, because mindset.
I want you to thank you so much for these highlights. They show nothing but resilience. However, there's one more thing that you missed to explain to us, that you were a mother, and then you pursued adult education. And so briefly, we are left with more. We need to come back to our panelists, but I want you just in a minute to tell me, how did you balance up being a mother and being and pursuing education and being able to get all that knowledge? How was it for you? I know you mentioned that your husband helped, but then as for us South Sudanese, the husbands have also a limit to how much. So
I balance, because I set up a realistic expectation for myself.
Very good.
What can I do? What can I not? Because if you're a student, you have to cut a lot of stuff, like going to parties or socialize with the other people. Yeah, I cut this. This is why I cut, because I have to balance my going to school and then my home. Mm-hmm. So that I don't want to be stressed out, because in school it is a good stress, but in other hand, I need to make sure I need to have realistic expectation. And then also I reduce unnecessary commitments. I don't involve in itself. I don't take some stuff and say, okay, if they want me to do this, say no. Right now I have 1 month or 2 months. I have to focus in my study or my education. I don't want to involve in stuff in the community. And then also I develop good transition time routine. I have time routine, because routine is so more important. Whether in routine, going to work or having kids, you have to have routine. Working in this morning, I wake up at 5 a.m. because I know today I have something. Yeah, right. Usually I wake up, I sit there, I have quiet time for myself. But because I'm coming to attend this panel, this is why I need to check before and one day I check myself what is my routine. Yeah.
Right.
And then also I organize good reliable childcare, because before I went to the school I make sure I have somebody gonna take care for my kids, because I raised my 3 kids by myself 20 years in this country.
Mm. Okay. So by the time you moved outside into Canada and pursued your education, you were there with your children. What happens? How did you manage when a child gets sick and you have your work and you have your pursuing your education? How did you handle that? What was and what could be your advice, especially when you have to sit for exams, for example, and you have all this challenging. I like the fact that you are a very disciplined person working on routine, but that particular, when it's kind of like you're being put in against the wall, you have a sick child and you have exams.
Yeah, my daughter, she's thank you for asking, because as a human being, I don't want to judge people. As a human being, we always give excuse. Oh, I have kids. Oh, I cannot do this. Oh, this. But it is, I check myself. If I want the change, I have to start myself to change myself. And then also before going to school, I have to have everything in place in order to start, because I cannot start something and then leaving in the middle. Yeah. What happened? I have a child was sick, but because I have a good husband, supportive, he's very very good. Since I was in the university, he helped me, even though I don't have kids. Always he encouraged me. He pushed me. Having a husband or a partner help you, it make me my life easier. This why, yeah, he helped me always. Even taking care with my to my kids, he's the one helping me always. Until now, he's helping. I have all the kids, but he still is a helpful man.
Thank you. We appreciate your insights into your journey into pursuing adult education and settling in a new culture and being able to manage and overcome and become innovative, and also being resilient in learning what can redeem time, because sometimes you have a desire to study a particular thing or a discipline, or you want to develop a career, and once you realize your strength, it's very important to have that balance of knowing your strength. So I appreciate that insights, Madam Rose. I want to come back to you, Honorable Mary, just to give us, you were once the chairperson for commission within the Council of State. You were the chairperson for gender child welfare. And within that committee on gender, child, and social welfare in the Republic of South Sudan Legislative Assembly, could you give us insights and share with us the policies and what kind of support was there? I think you already read for us some articles within the policy, but then what, in addition to the policies, you had there to be able to encourage education, especially adult educations of women? Yes, please. You're mute.
Oh, yeah. Once more, thank you so much, Honorable Jehan. I enjoyed the debate. I enjoyed listening to those great stories from my sisters. And I just feel worried that our time is running out,
Mm-hmm.
which means that it is a fruitful discussion, because looking at the topic itself, before I answer what are we doing,
Mm-hmm.
I just want a bit to reflect on the figures, the South Sudan population,
Mm-hmm.
and the indicators, educational indicators in South Sudan. The latest projection on our population shows that we are roughly around 11 millions something. And if you look into the educational indicators, they are not promising. We have only around 34% of our population that is literate,
Mm-hmm.
and 65%, around 65% is the rate of illiteracy in South Sudan. And if we come in particular into women indicators or educational indicators, percentages for women, we have only about 16% of women that are literate, and the rest, the 84% that are not, that fall on within the range of illiterate population. This is a bit worrying, and I just brought it for us to have in mind that we are addressing a serious population, because many of us, as we mentioned, that it is a very important tool for change. Then we need to bring on board this big population so that they help in transformation, because it cannot be done with these few figures, with the 16% talking about. When we talk about our rights, if we are not aware, if you are not aware about your rights, even raising awareness is always easier within the educated population. So now coming to the, how do we help as parliamentarians in supporting the policies and the tools I mentioned on adult education and education in general. Let me just first, because I'm seeing there in the chatting room that we were supposed to properly start a bit introducing ourselves. I was a chair for the Committee on Gender, Peace and Reconciliation in the Council of State, not a commission. We have in the Council 7 specialized committees. So before I was on the Committee of Gender. Right now I'm heading the Committee on Decentralized Governance and State Affairs. In the other National Assembly, because South Sudan is a bicameral system where we have the Council of State as the upper house in other systems, and then the National Legislative Assembly. There are 25 specialized committees, and among them, yes, there is a committee on gender, child, and social welfare also, as we have in the Council of State. But there is also a specialized committee on education in the National Legislative Assembly. And sincerely, before even coming to this panel, I contacted some of my colleagues to find more on some of these questions that we were going to discuss here. So looking at our role as legislators, we do have the role of representation. And one of them, we do always raise these issues that we need to see that 84% of women population that is not educated to be supported, maybe during when we discussed issues to do with budget. Again, also we have the role of legislation, and as lawmakers, it is to make sure that the country has those policies that will support education in general and women empowerment in particular. As I mentioned, some of those instruments that has been domesticated by the National Legislative Assembly, as the CEDAW and the Mokoto Protocol and the National Action Plan on the 1325. These are tools for women empowerment. So without women lawmakers engaging the men, I think it would have taken us also longer to have those tools in South Sudan, because from our experience, we have some countries like Sudan. Up to now, they have not ratified, for example, the CEDAW. So I think this is one of the role as women legislators and lawmakers in general, even including our men. They are our partners, and we make sure always that at the level of the women parliamentarian caucus that involve the women from the two houses, that we engage them to support issues and activities related to women empowerment. On the role of oversight, as the committee in particular and women lawmakers, with the help of men also, we make sure that we efficiently do our oversight role to see that the policies we have, as we mentioned, we have our constitution talk about the right to education. We have the other conventions, and as I mentioned earlier, also Prof. Julia also mentioned it, the policy presented by the general education on alternative education, or specifically on adult education, the 2022 to 2027, to monitor the implementation of these policies so that they are not just nice wording on papers, that we want to see them on ground. And we want to see all women of South Sudan are benefiting from this program, because mainly most of the activities, they may be always either in Juba or the big towns of South Sudan, but not at the level of Payams and the Buma. We want to see all our women are benefiting.
So let me ask you,
Also,
I'm
yes.
I'm going to kind of make your statements a little shorter because we want to be able to also get some more insights from the other panelists. But before I shift from you, it's good to have all these numbers and figures in place, especially for us women. When it comes to the constitutions, we know that Republic of South Sudan has given us 35% of women participation, and there is always a kind of like we want. I've seen and heard of movement pursuing that percentage as it is the highest, whereby it's actually the minimum bar, which means you start from 35 and you can go up to 100. But then, as a policy maker and a member of the parliament, especially in this area of adult education, in 1 minute, I want you to share with us the challenges you have within the assembly itself, the women in the parliamentarian. What are the challenges they're facing in adult education? Are they motivated? Do they engage in pursuing it? Or are they set back, even though they are lawmakers?
Thank you. The Honorable Jihan, in the parliament, we have great stories of women lawmakers pursuing their education after they came to the parliament. I think we, the women of South Sudan, we need to appreciate Honorable Victoria Dardit, Mama Dardit. May I know Prof. Julia know her. She's very old, but now she's in the University of Juba. She's moving with her stick, but she's doing her. So I think she's a motivator to other parliamentarians and even to our young generations. Many of us, because when we came to the parliament in 2011, I know some of them, by then they were in primary school, but now most of them finish and start university education. We don't have motivations, no incentives at all provided by the parliament. Each one of us doing it by herself. I myself, I started, I'm right now enrolled in, I'm doing my master's at the University of Juba in environmental studies. And I did that after 14 years when I graduated in 2004. So it is, as Lily mentioned earlier, we want to motivate others. We want to be role models to our own daughters, to other young generations. And we feel always great when you see other daughters from my community saying, no, no, I have to study. I want to be like Honorable Ayan. I want, and the same I do my daughters also. So those great stories and the commitment from women, it's something need to be appreciated, and we need to salute.
Excellent.
Like Honorable Victoria Dar.
Thank you. Thank you for that example. Thank you for these very important information and encouraging stories. I want to come to you, Professor Julia, our elder here and educationist. I want you to be able to take us back into the considerations, special considerations for adult education, the flexibilities that are available, whether within the university or within the various institutions that you participated in. What kind of flexibility are you providing for those who are pursuing adult education, especially for women? Are you able to support that? And I hope we still have you. I know this technology sometimes is very challenging. The screen, the touch screen, kind of slides you off for a minute, and I think she was trying to mute herself. She's back here. Excellent. It's good to have you back, Prof. I know the touch screen is just.
Someone call me.
Okay. You got a call in there. So thank you for staying along with us. We are running very, very short of time, but I want you to tell us in the various institutions that you manage from elementary education up to university, and being able, especially supporting women adult educations, what type of flexibilities do you have there in submission of assignments? Are you flexible, or are you so rigid when somebody's submitting an assignment, or fall behind with the assignments, and maybe challenging to do an exam? Do they have that opportunity to catch up if they are set back? As an educationist, okay. That question actually, until Professor come on board, okay. Are you able to hear the questions? Her internet is a little
Yes.
bit. Yes. Can you tell us?
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. Yeah, the question.
The question is the types of.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are hearing you. Can you hear us also? We wanted to get your insights as someone who managed institutions
Yes.
like Dr. John Garang University. Are you flexible to handle these adult women who are pursuing the education and have setbacks? They are late in submitting assignments, or they are missing an exam, or what type of flexibility? How do you handle those setbacks or challenges?
You know, there are a lot of challenges facing these institutions, especially when I was at Dr. John Garang University. Most of the challenges, these institutions are being run on very minor, very amicable resources.
Mm-hmm.
And very little resources that are available, you know, to be able to support a bulk of maybe many, you know, to help women to be able to pursue further education. But a little program is put together. When we talk about adult education, I'm as Honorable was talking about the statistics of 84 illiteracy of women, and you talk about only 16% of illiterate, and most of these women are rural women who are really, and most of women who are working within the universities are women who are doing the cleaning, who are doing the cooking, are the majority. And the university came out with a program, how do we help these women who can be able to be helped to, at least even to read and write. Literacy program to be put there, just to the 3 R's, read, writing, and enumeration, you know, arithmetic. And that's where the university come in as a literacy program, because literacy program is really a burden to the nation,
right.
First of all, because the big population to itself is a sin. You know, Gandhi say is a sin. You know, if you ignore your population to be literate, is a sin. Third, the world say now is a human right. If you don't educate your population, it's a right of citizen. So as I was at Dr. John, we came out that we need to have a literacy program within the university to help the workers to be able to have the 3 R's. Another program we came out is to help the teachers at Jonglei State, because most of the teachers who were there were really, most of them came out of the primary education, and they didn't have really a strong background. So also English program for the teachers. That is also a literacy program for the teachers. So this, to me, this is the literacy we talked about, is to strengthen the level of education. When we talk about higher education, that is, those people are already strong enough to be able to pursue further studies and be able to build up. But capacity building for literacy program is really building the citizen at the lower level. And when in the Vision 2040 was one of the pillars which were really pursued in the Vision 20, that to build a nation is to have an informed nation, a nation that know itself, be able to be to determine its future, to determine itself, to determine its resources, to manage its resources. It must be informed. It also has to be compassionate nation. It must be informed. To be democratic nation, it must be informed. So all these things goes to education. So it was one of the strong pillar in the Vision 2040. So for South Sudan really to become a strong nation, education was one of the strong pillars. And in the in the development program, in the development plan, it was one of the strong pillars that need to be to. When it comes to the budgeting, even when it goes to the parliament, it's really a struggle to be pushed, that to be funded. Education need to be funded, and it always is.
I want to interject. I want to bring you back to,
yeah,
as someone who managed the education institution, and we know that for women we already have many responsibilities that are challenging us, whereby you are managing a house, you are managing children, and then you come out and you add the ability to pursue adult education, because right now there are two levels of approach. From your perspective as a vice chancellor, is supporting the higher education, but then also you engage in basic education. And between basic education and higher education, we have adult education. And many of us here were able to start the basic education and got engaged in life, and then came back and pursued education and became adult educationists. But then we have challenges. So I want to ask you, as an instructor, are you able to help a South Sudanese woman overcome? Are you flexible, or what are the incentive as an instructor to help that particular South Sudanese woman pursuing adult education? And I know that our time is running out. I want to be able to get your answer. Yes.
The challenges has been really resources. Where do you get the resources? Yeah, where do you get the resources to the program for these women? One of the program we did was the gender equity and women women leadership program, so that you can get resources from the
right.
Oh my goodness.
No, we're hearing you. You continue. I can hear you. The importance of having budget from the government to implement its vision for higher education, as you mentioned, Professor, it's very important. And also, I believe you mentioned.
Yes. Yeah. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you. So you were mentioning the importance of having resources.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, yes, Prof. Yes, you are loud. Yes, we can hear you. Yes. You can finish your sentence.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. One of the things is the resources. So we mobilize the resources through the NGOs, and the support we got was from the USAID to sponsor the women through scholarship. The other one we did at Dr. John Garang University is through DIVIT to support teachers training program, so that we can be. And one of the things is that we took more women in as teachers to be trained than men. So we have always been selfish. We take in more women than men, and I have always been accused that I have always been biased. Why am I taking in more women than men? One of the things also we did was that the funding that was coming for 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 upkeep of the university, we put aside little money to be put for adult education for women, and that money went to the cooks in the cook who were cooking for the student, so that they can do home economics, so that they can understand what they can do for to do a better cooking for the student, instead of putting too much oil or too much salt in the food for for the students. And so that some of the things we did, and also to the water, so that they can, the cleanliness of the kitchen for the student is one of the things we did at the university. And also the teaching assistants that we have as female, we were able to sponsor them through USAID program, so that they can go for scholarship. Those are the things we did at Dr. John Garang University.
Phenomenal. These are encouraging.
Yeah, so it's always resources. It's always resources.
Absolutely.
More resources, more resources. Yeah.
Yes, we appreciate that insights, that encouraging. Yeah. And I know in elementary education they have also other incentives that they're giving out for helping with those encouraging women to come along and learning. Education is more than just going to school. Education is being able to remember the things that you have forgotten, or it's more of remembering the things after you finish schools. And so we have the alphabets, and going to school is not enough, but being able to maneuver, like some of our panelists, Rose Yoki or Lily. Madam Lily, I want to bring you on board for a minute to just tell me here, if when you pursued your education, did you, especially adult education, were you able to get a scholarship, or did you pay for you sponsor yourself? And in both cases, can you give an highlight? Go ahead. You're muted. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I go to my question, I just want to go back to Honorable Mary and Professor Julia. They are talking about the policies that actually promotes girls or women in adult education, which is really, really great. I still need to argue them we really need to continue with this advocating for our girls, especially in terms of adult education. I remember there was affirmative policy that was developed by our very Asha Arabi that was calling for women to join the teaching, to become the role model to our girls in the schools. I don't know how far that one really went, but however, I'm still arguing Mary to really advocate for that, to make sure we have more women in the teaching department or the teaching system, to be able to be a role model to those girls. Because the more women we have in the teaching, the more we get our girls enrolled in schools or in adult education. Because we have seen, as the way we see our country, we women, we have been left behind. We have been left in the kitchen. But this is the high time for us to bring those girls from the kitchen. There are so many girls down there who are really they are potential. They are ready to learn. They are ready to get the new skills. But we lack the role models. You know, the way the teachers, the female teachers handle the girls is different from the way our counterpart handles them. There's so many things that we are scared to share with our counterparts. But when we have more women in the system, the more girls we get them, because they'll be kind of more encouraging to get in, to go back to school, because the way they love we show them is different. So I really urge you, Mary, Honorable Mary, please, let's try to advocate for that policy that was developed by Aisha. We really want it not only in the cities, we really want it in Bomas. Please, those MPs in the Bomas, they have to work hard to make sure we get those girls. We have actually our president right down there. Very soon we need a lady to lead us too. But how do we get this with the 35? It's really very scary, because where are we in terms of education? Education is the key to everything. We need peace, we need development. With no education, we don't get whatever we are struggling for. So please, I urge you, let's advocate for that more. Coming back to my question, I was actually self-sponsored, not because I was able to do it, not because I had resources, but I had a lot of challenges, and I was like, I made it strong, and I said, if whatever it takes, I'm gonna work hard, because when I dropped out from school, I couldn't go back. I had to get up a job. I was a mother. I was a caregiver to my own family. I had a huge responsibility. It was very hard for me to go to school. I remember back in the state, I applied several times for scholarship. There was so-called scholarship coming through governments. They would ask people to apply. But I applied, I don't know how many times. The day I would just like, when I move around and somebody tells me, Lily, they are calling for application, I would go sit the same time I write application. I remember my high school certificate got lost in the Ministry of Education in the state. When they argue us to give the original certificate, I was like, I cannot give my original certificate. They said, no, you don't give the original certificate, you won't get this scholarship. Because I was so excited and I was pushing for myself, I gave in my certificate. What happens? They never got back to me. I went after 3 months. They were tossing me around. I became so discouraged, and I was like, I'm done with this. I need to work for myself. I need to make sure I find a way to get into that classroom. The other thing was like, because right now looking at South Sudan, people don't have enough internet. Like today, like when you look at diaspora, you have internet, you can go into Google Map, you get anything you want. There are scholarship online, you get them. But we didn't have that. We don't have those opportunities back home. It's very hard to get internet. You even don't have that somebody to like tell you, oh, there's a scholarship here, you have to go to the website. First of all, the skill of the IT that the professor was talking about. Not many of us know how to operate these computers. Now we have phones. Some of us even, we don't know why we are using it. There are so many programs within our phones, but we don't know how to use it because we don't have those skills. So with all that, it was really very hard for me to get scholarship. The best way was I had to work. I had to have struggling between family, work, and thinking of going back to school. But at the end of the day, I thank God because my family stood very hard with me. The little that I had saved, I remember when I was back home, people like they never understood why I remember I used one shoes for 2 years, and people could not believe why I was using one shoes for 2 years. And people used to gossip me that this one she works, but she doesn't dress nicely. She doesn't put that decent clothes. She doesn't put decent shoes. Because they didn't know why I was doing that. Excellent. Not until I had to save. I never had that culture of saving. You know, back home we don't have that culture of saving. But because I had a goal that I felt there was a big gap and I have to get it. By how do I get it? I have to save. Even if it's one coin, I have to put it down. So that's how I managed at the end of the day when it was time for me to go. It was hard. How do I go? How do my kids survive? How would my parents survive? Because I was a breadwinner for the family. It was really, really hard. But at the end of the day, I said, like Mama said, it's self-determination, self-motivation. And they always say hard work pays. When you set a goal and you have people who support you, that's why today we have to advocate. I'm so happy for this forum. Let's advocate. Those who are behind there, if you fall, don't think that's the end of the world. You still have time to wake up, go. And not only that, don't think it's only your sister or your mother will support you. We as a community, when you see a girl going to school, please encourage her. If she's very fine, if you can even just be able to get a phone and call to find how she's doing, that is very, very
Excellent.
important, and we really need to advocate. Let's use our voice to advocate. It's not only that you have resources. Like today we have internet. As who are able to get the internet, get access to those scholarship online. Let's get to those ones who are not able. Let's send it to them. Let's share with them. Let's see why it is very important to get into a classroom. That's not the end of the day. We really need to strategize. We really need to support ourselves as women, because if you don't support ourselves as women, we'll never. But all in all, hard work pays. When you set your goal, you want to do it, you will do it, whether you have the resources or you don't have it. At the end of the day, you find yourself doing it without knowing that you're finishing it. And when people find that you are doing something, they will really encourage you. They will come. Someone will even come. I remember when I was a student in London, at times I didn't have time. At times I was like spending $50 in a month for my feeding. I could go hungry. I eat once in a day. But at times we find people in the community, they used to help me. Somebody will cook and call me and drop me a food. I appreciate it so much.
Right.
Not because they could not help me.
I want to thank you, Lily. So much. You have injected a very important element into our discussion, that is not that you just pursue education, but you also become resilient and determined. As we know, it is really, you made the definition of Professor Julia to be very true and very lively, and also advocating that anybody who is part of this forum, the South Sudanese Women Intellectual Forum, today's discussion, even though we had so many internet challenges, and we know this challenge, the title itself, South Sudanese Women Intellectual Forums. And today, all of us here, we are invoking our thinking and our challenges about what education is all about, especially adult education, and that what can you gain after you have left school. So you go for school and then you leave school, what happened? I want to quickly minimize, utilize rather, the few minutes we have to be able to get an encouraging word from closing remarks. It's going to be like 2 minutes each, please, from each one of you. But before we do that, Grace, Sister Grace, you talked about how you decided to pursue psychology. Can you also talk to us real quickly, in a minute or so, what was the impact of that? How did you manage alongside the community? What is the perception of your community when you started pursuing that particular mental health education?
Yeah, when I started my training, first, I did not know the perception of community. But when I dropped out, this is whereby I realized how the perception of the community towards me. And some of them would say, oh, she failed. Otherwise, why can she continue with her education? And some of them actually personally rang me that, have you really passed? And I don't know what to say. I'm just saying, yes, I will go back. I dropped because of this. But then they can see the challenges I'm having, but then still people, will intervene. This is the perception of community towards, but not all community. Some of them are really supportive. The majority are supportive. These are very few individuals who are really, putting their nose into other people's business. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So yeah, when I went back and I graduated, nobody said thank you. Nobody said thank you, and nobody said well done, and all this. Not only that, I went back to have 1 year, they call it top-up degree in public health. I did that, I graduated, but also nobody said thank you for that, for this, the what do you call it, the challenges I'm having.
Right.
So, but only my family, my husband, my children were very, very supportive. So I don't mind about other people, what they're saying and all this. So in the end, I want to give you a quotation here by Edward John Mackey, saying education is not only a ladder of opportunity, but it is also an investment in our future. So I invested in my education. Now I'm so comfortable. I would say I'm comfortable because the comparison between when I used to work as a care assistant and now is much, much bigger. You know, as Sister Lily was saying before, it's double my salary, and the nature of the job you're doing when you're care assistant and now it's a bit different. You are more knowledgeable now, and I will advise this to young people to do mental health nurses and psychiatrists, a doctor, because we are lacking psychiatrists and mental health nurses in our country. My advice to young people to go and do this field. The other problem is here now. People will say to you, "Oh, how this is? How can you do psychiatric? You people who are doing psychiatric, they're mad." This is the perception, the general perception also from other people. Not you go there, you get your training, everything will be normal. But before, even our other colleagues who are doing general nurses, who are not psychiatrists, they'll say you're brave. I can't do your job. So if we don't do that job, who is going to do it? Right. If we don't do this job, people with mental illness, who is going to look after them? You see? So I will advise young people, my children, my younger sisters, let them go and do mental health. They will get trained, they will get used to it. It will help our country. This is my advice to young people for in this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. In South Sudan, in our culture, where we have multi-cultures, mental health is not addressed as a sickness. It's actually addressed as a taboo, or you are literally alienated. You are pushed away like an animal. You are caged. And in many cases, in the rural areas, you're actually either sent out to the bushes to be among the animals, or you are chained. In the urban cities also, there is a very limited knowledge of how to handle mental health. That is a sickness like any other disease. And that for you to become a social worker, that means you are taking upon yourself the responsibility of bringing some reasoning to that person. And in addition to taking medication, to help them to start learning again, to activate their mind and to activate their abilities to reset themselves and become more reasoning instead of being unreasoning and mentally set back. So we appreciate your courage to choose that discipline and that line of education. To pursue it as an adult education is something very unique. And we appreciate your story and being able to share with us and the advices that you've given to us to pursue it. Madame Rose, could you also, as you are giving us these answers about the challenges you had when you were pursuing education, and I think you mentioned that in a minute or so, tell us also what advices would you give? What are your recommendations as you have overcome education from a different medium, Arabic medium, and then switching to English medium? And by the way, I also did the same. I studied personally. I studied in Arabic medium from elementary all the way to high school certificate. And then English was just a subject. And it's only in university, that's when I also learned about English. And I made sure I did a lot of reading, newspaper, books, every opportunity to read English. And there I speak English fluently. So I wasn't born knowing English, neither did I study with that. So Rose, could you please give us your recommendation? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Jehan. So I went through a lot of challenges, but I want to say that thank God we're in a good country. We have a lot of resources, like Professor Julia, she mentioned about lacking of the resources gonna limit people not pursue their education or go to the school. But in Canada, we have everything. We have all the resources. This is the beauty of this country. Yeah, my own challenges like having kids and going to school. But I also, like I mentioned before, I always have to be disciplined. I discipline myself, even though I know will be challenges, but in the end of the tunnel, I'm gonna be happy. Right now, I'm gonna say I'm 70%, 80%. I'm happy because I feel good about myself. My self-esteem is good. I can handle myself in a public. I can fill my forms. I don't go to people or my husband to help me. I do myself. Even the computer literacy. When I was in university doing this English as a second language, I went enroll myself in 3 months computer intensive computer literacy, because sometimes in this country, your kids have to be independent. Everybody gotta do their own business, as I say. But in the beginning, when I went to the school, as like, because South Sudanese, we are like living in a village. Even in Canada here, everybody knows everybody do, they're gonna do what, and then go. I went to a lot of challenges. People, they're talking bad, negative stuff, but I have a mindset. I didn't focus on them because my self-esteem is so strong. There's some people, they say, like, actually women, some women, oh, she came here, but we thought maybe she finished university, right? How come she went back to school? And then some of them, they try to label me with them. But I want to encourage our sister there. You cannot compare yourself with somebody who went to the school or finished their school, because the level, everybody has different levels, even in communication, because communication, it is a hard thing. Communication, it is not about talking. Communication about sharing thoughts and sharing feelings, and then sharing knowledge, what I know, what you know. Like now, I learn a lot of stuff from our sisters here. I don't know it all, even though I went to university, I study law, I study psychology, anthropology, you can name it, but it's still I'm in a process of learning. Every day I learn. But this is why I am open-minded. I didn't pay attention because as some people, they like to compete with each other, but for me, I'm doing this for myself and for my family. Yeah, even I'm not doing this for my mom or my dad, but I'm doing for myself. Yeah,
Excellent.
this is why I have a mind. This why always, if you want to do something, I encourage people back home. I know even though they are lacking resources, but it's still some people, some children back home, they push themselves. I encourage people outside to help, like our sister mentioned, to help our kids there, our brothers, sisters. Send even $50. Even in Uganda, you can see the education there is cheaper than different places. Send this $50 will change 3 months or 4 months for one child. Yeah,
So
I encourage, because education, we need to value the education, because in education will change our life, will change even back home, our kids or people back home. I like to advocate for our immigrants. They came to Canada here. Always they say, don't lose hope. I know life, it is not easy. Yeah, because we have a resources here. Utilize it. Utilize it.
I
This
want to
why.
thank you. I want to thank you, Rose. I know you have a passion, and in your advice, you want us to be able to encourage one another. And actually, adult education is not comparing with anybody but yourself. Adult education, by the end of the day, is looking into your inside, learning your why. Why are you existing? Why are you where you are, and how you can move forward? Once you identify that, that means you're competing with yourself. And so we thank you for your resilience and for the ability to overcome all the challenges. I want us to come to, I hope I have not left anybody out, but in the closing, I want Honorable Mary and Professor Julia to give us 2 minutes each. I'm sorry, I'm putting you. You are a wealth of resources, both of you, amazing. You have a lot of experiences, and I think Professor Julia will have to bring you back again to pour out your heart as an educationist and tell us. So, Honorable Mary, what is your final remarks and recommendation as a policymaker and in your capacity within the legislation?
Once more, thank you so much, Honorable Jihan, and I thank the panelists. It has been a very educative discussion. And I want to conclude by assuring what Lily was saying. And I think this is a collective responsibility to bring on board the 84% that is still in the rate of illiteracy, so that we have them reading and writing. We have them, if they have certain level of education, that they can enhance their education by encouraging them to pursue further education. And this is by being ourselves role models, to continue advocating, to continue pushing for better legislation, to continue oversighting the relevant institutions, so that they provide better services in education as general and adult education in particular, having this big population of men and women in South Sudan, not only women, because also having educated parents will enhance also girls' education, as Prof. Julia was talking about the beliefs of her own father, that he was able to confront the norms and the cultural practices by the societies that I think we are all coming from. I want also to, in a very specific way, to appreciate the diaspora community. You people, maybe you don't feel it, but being here in South Sudan, I know that the little that you are sharing with your community, with your family, can lift a lot and can help so many children and even other women to continue with their education, and also to raise the level of education. We will continue also not only to advocate, but to give the little. And I know, Prof. Julia, we have been doing also some training in the NTLI. NTLI is one of our national institute that gives training for young women leaders and for women leaders also, so that they are given some skills and knowledge on leadership, on peace building, and other aspects of like things to do with gender-based violence. So as Lily was saying, having also women in teaching professional can encourage and can motivate others. And I know this because from my background, I'm educationist, I'm a teacher by career. So I know the sentiment attachment of the young generation to their teachers. When she's a lady, she can come to you and tell you some of the challenges that she could not share with a teacher if he was a man. So having our data also showing that we have only 12% of female in teaching field. Yes, Lily, it's true that we need to push more women for teaching, so that other young generation also will have real role models that they are seeing, they interact with. And we need also to be assertive in encouraging other women, that, as Prof. Julia was saying, and many of us said, that it's about self-commitment. And even if we have some degree, we have degrees, that's not the end. We need to keep enhancing and developing our personal careers, because Lily was talking about the way she enhanced her career when she did more education. Jehan, I also want to say that even if we are leading, we still have other role models. I used to tell you when I chat with you that you are one of them. I have Prof. Pauline, I have Prof. Julia also, and other great women, as I was talking about Mama Victoria Dardi. Yet she's in education, but I look at her as a great role model that I want my daughters to look at. Being ourselves also coaching and mentoring others and leading by example. As I mentioned, I'm right now after 14 years doing my master's, and my daughters used to complain, Mama, you are now starting masters. Then this is a challenge for us because we have to be beyond what you are doing. And I said, okay, yes, you have to accept this challenge.
I,
So,
I thank you, Honorable.
mhm,
I need to use the next 6 minutes, literally. I want to bring in closing remarks from my sister Lily before we come to the special. So please come on board, and you have a minute and a half.
Yeah, I know I talk a lot. Thank you so much. Before I go, it's only one challenge that I wanted to share with you, and I always feel to share with women is like when I resigned from my job, I took my kids, we went to Uganda, and I couldn't really make it with all of them. I really regretted it, but at the end of the day, I said maybe it was a plan of God. When I got to Kampala with my two kids by then, I was like, can I make it to school or not? But when I looked at my budget, I couldn't. So I had to go for the associate degree for 2 years. Then what I did was to put them in a boarding to give me a chance to read. But that was a big mistake. My first child was a boy. When I took him to school, to boarding, he was 5 and the sister was 3. But unfortunately, I lost him. He was beaten in school and he died. And it was a big challenge. And I regretted for my life. And I was like, why did I do this? In terms, instead of staying with my kids, I claimed that I'm going back to school. I ended up my child to a tragedy. And it was so painful and it was very challenging. I gave up. I was almost giving up because I lost my son thinking I was putting him there to get the knowledge that I wanted to support them, to be able to take them to a good school. But that was the big challenge that affected me until today. I don't have a boy. I'm left with only 3 girls. That was the challenge I want. So it shouldn't like whenever the situation we are in, you know, there's a lot of temptation in life. Whenever you want to take something good, you'll always have that force, negative forces. But still, I never gave up. And I wanted to thank my mom today because she was my backbone. She never went to school. She said, I never went to school. You have to go. Whether you have kids or not, you have to make it. So that was the big challenge from so many challenges. That was the one I wanted to share with you. I know we are, as women, we go through a lot, but don't give up.
Yes.
Be firm, be strong. That's not the end of the world. So with my recommendation, I just want to really appreciate all the women of this forum, all the South Sudanese women who always take their time, sacrifice. I know, especially even if in South Sudan we don't have internet, but they run up and down looking for where the internet is to make sure they raise their voice, they share their experience. I really love it. I appreciate you so much. Those with diaspora, you will be at work right now, but you left whatever you are supposed to be doing and you are here today. Sharing your knowledge with people. Knowledge is very powerful. And I believe whatever we are doing here today, this is a very, I always call it a legacy. And I would like to thank Asha, especially for this and the team for bringing up this forum. Let's support this forum. This is ours. And how do we get this? This is by educating our kids, educating our sisters, so that we can also be able to build our nation. How do we build our nation? Is by getting a right skills to put in a right place. Whatever is going in our country, believe me or not, we will enjoy one day. And I want to tell girls who are outside there, who drop out from school, this is not the end. You still have much better. And you who have got it, if you have not got the fruit, the best days are to come.
Yes.
Make sure you go to that classroom, struggle. At the end of the day, I'm sure you will love it. I'm so happy and I'm glad to be part of this. And I know whatever we are doing here today, we are doing it for the benefit of all South Sudanese. Wherever we are, let's come together. Let's put our head together. We can. I believe we can.
Yes.
Those behind there, let's pull them. Let's put them all together. Let's say education is the key to everything. Let's use our positive voice to advocate for our sisters, to advocate for our children. Let's be a role model to them. This is not the end of the world. We have more to go. Thank you. Have a great day.
It's so fortunate that today I'm wearing a hat. So virtually, hats off to you. I take my hat off to you, Lily. That's significant focus.
One thing, Honorable, just give me a second. One thing I want us to do, we have cultures, and I want us to take those girls, those who we think they are all done, please, let's give our time to educate them. And those who are like the pregnant teenagers, Let's try to discourage those cultures. We are here to encourage good cultures, but the cultures of allowing, because I understand in South Sudan right now, I've been away from the country for like about 4 years or 5 years, but there's a culture now allowing kids to go to the school with others who don't know what it happens by having a belly. So let's try to discourage this. Let's get a provision for them. And again, let's also try to give a provision for women. Like if they are in high school or they are in college already, like Professor Julia, you will take this with me. Let's try, if any adult who is in school and she's pregnant, let's try to give her some chance, please, to give her that chance to come to class. I remember I gave birth for 3 days and I had an exam. I looked at my girl 3 days on the bed and I had to go for exams. So let's try to get that. And again, the culture, when the girl is pregnant, we say, let her go to the man's house. This is very bad culture. You don't know what you're pushing this girl to. Let's bring these girls back. Take care
will be another will be another program.
Yes, let's do this.
Will be another program.
Bring you. Please continue and give the recommendation. Before the closing, I was going to what Honorable Mary Ayen was talking about, of giving tribute to some of our women leaders that actually were role models. One of them was supposed to be a panelist with us, Honorable Rachel Anok Opal. Her last posting was the deputy governor to the state of Bibor. And before that, she was the advisor to the governor, and she also worked as a minister for social and gender welfare. She's one of the most senior person, and I think Professor Julia will know her because she started education in the 60s and was one of the first educationists who self-educated herself and pursued adult education. Maybe in the future we'll be able to bring her. She didn't join us today due to health challenges. But we want to appreciate her. We appreciate also our late mother, Honorable Mary Ayat, who passed away recently after bottling. Mary Ayat Ojongo. She's the mother of late Mama Mary. Mary Ayat is an educationist, and she's also a senior person who pursued education with all her heart, and she imparted that to generations after generations. Even as she aged and while she was battling cancer, she continued to inspire young girls. And so we want to give her tribute, we want to remember her and appreciate her role, even though she's no longer with us here in person. She left a strong legacy, and even her daughter right now, she is a national minister, a deputy minister of agriculture, Honorable Lilia Cole. We forward our condolences to you and to the nation. We also remember to acknowledge the role of Mama Rachel Yala Kachwal. Yara Kachwal did not really do any systematic education whatsoever, but she stood up also as a leader, as a mentor, and she made sure she helped the women in the diaspora to pursue and to stand their ground, to protect their families, and further to be able to grow herself from being just a community person to becoming a pastor. And those are rules that shows that women are the foundation of a nation. It's very correct. You educate a woman, you educate a nation. All of you have performed that, have actually cemented that factor, and it is a reality. Educate a woman, you educate a nation. And finally, I want to also encourage you, Lily, that you were wonderful, and we condole you on the loss of that child. And it is a topic that I need to bring you in to be able to really encourage the women. It's not just in persuasion. You know, when do you send your child to boarding school? It's a very important within the child care. First 5 years, from 0 to 5, these are crucial years for any child. That is the foundation of the character of a child. And so we lose on it. After 5 years, whatever information you give to the child, they don't get it. So we want to condole you and make grace of God be sufficient. You're still young. You can still trust God, you know, along with your daughters. But we thank you for sharing. Honorable Professor Julia, I want you to take us out with your recommendation. And I just see that I have also a reminder of our Dr. Purcell Nyanyang. She's another great woman. She was with you, Professor Julia, in establishment of the vision of South Sudan Development Plan 2040. She has really poured her heart out as a mentor. She was very simple, reachable. We were able to access her at different level. And she was there with the grassroots and she was there with the educationists. And so that is a mind we lost, but we believe so much also her legacy remains with us. Mary Baba also is another person that participated in highlighting the importance of education and encouraging all of us to pursue it. And so we have a long list, but we just wanted to remember this few in these few minutes that as you're listening to us on the South Sudan Women Intellectual Forum, it is not just about having a certificate or having a title. It's about self-education. It is about self-equipping, empowerment. And then you know that when you do that, you are actually empowering your family, you're empowering your community, and you can have the assurance, South Sudan, we could do much ahead. South Sudan be transformed. South Sudan, as we are personally being transformed. So Professor Julia, please take us out. Give your recommendation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Jihan, and my heartfelt condolences to Lillian, Akol, and to South Sudan, and especially to South Sudanese women. I'm a product of teacher Mary Ayat, my first grade teacher.
Wow.
So I'm her product. Yeah, she's my first grade teacher. And I really, whenever she see me, she says, "This is my daughter." And when she's in Juba, the first person she will go to is me. He said, "This is me. This is me here." So I really, when you just say it, I really felt it. She's a great teacher, really great educator. I think our time is going. It's great to be with all these great South Sudanese women. And I think the men should really feel it now. Because all the time when we when we go, they will tell me, "Yeah, you Julia, you always talk about women. Where are they?" Now I should tell them, here they are. Here are the women. They are coming. They are on the way. So you should be ready to receive them. They are now ready. And I know Mary, Honorable Mary, whenever we talk with them, they always put their head down because we really face them and we really tell them things are not going right and they need to revisit the way they are doing things. Having said that, education is a priority. And if South Sudan has to define itself, it is through education. I have, one of the great African liberator, Steve Biko, is my favorite. He said, the Western world has given the world the might, the industrial might, and the power of the gun to the world. But the greatest gift will come from Africa, given the human face. And what is that human face? The human face is through education. So to me, education is that realization, you realize yourself of who you are. Who you are is your self-determination, enlightenment. Know your things, know your people, know your resources, build your nation. And these are the things, Africa has been trying to find itself. And South Sudan has to find itself. And this is what the South Sudanese women have been doing, trying to find themselves. If South Sudanese women are going to find themselves, they are going to find themselves through education. And this is where they will have to contribute to their nation. And I have a quote that I have been always putting out there. If, an informed citizen is the defender of their liberties.
Excellent.
If I'm informed, I will defend my liberties. I will defend my rights. So if you are informed, and this is what you have been talking all along, all of you, I have been doing this. I have gone to school, so I can be able to do this. So I can be able to defend my family. So I can be able to serve my people. So I can be. It is through my education, through my going to school. So for you now, you have gone to school, so you can be able to defend yourself, so you can be able to defend your family. The next step you will have to do is to hold one woman's hand and pull up with you.
Excellent.
Don't go up by yourself.
Sure.
Don't go up by yourself.
Excellent.
Yeah. So you have defend yourself now. Pull up another woman and go up with you. And this has been the challenge for us. We always pull up ourselves and then walk up there, with our hands, open. Pull up yourself with another woman.
Thank you.
And we will all, if you pull up one woman, the other one will pull up the other one, and then you will see the chain of women pulling up themselves. It will be a chain, nobody will ever break it. You will reach the sky and it's still on the ground. Yeah, it will be on the ground. Nobody will break that chain. Yeah. So please let us keep the chain unbroken. Pull up every woman you have hold hands. Since you are sitting there now, you are far away, but we are holding hands. Yeah, we are holding hands. We are here now, we are holding hands. So thank you very much to be part of this great, great forum. Let us keep doing it. And thank you to Aisha.
Yes.
She has done a great work. And Jan, you have done very well today. And Mary, very long time now. I have been here for 1 year. I disappeared from you guys. But thank God I'm okay now. Thank God I'm okay now. I'm ready to go back to Juba, but coronavirus has locked the way. So I will be back. Yeah,
Thank you.
I will be back as soon as possible. Yeah, thank you.
I am
Thank you.
encouraged. I am motivated. The Forum for South Sudan Women Intellectual Forum has been enlightened. And we thank you for this opportunity, Aisha, and the moderators and the panelists and the viewers. I want to give you a special thanks for taking time to, even though we have taken a little bit longer time, but again, like Albert Einstein says, education is nothing but the ability to continue after you have finished your school and the things you've learned in school, and now you're picking up life. And so it's a continuous process. So much has been shared, so much encouragement, so much insights, and the challenges that were shared on this platform, they are tools for you who is the listener to take it up and go on. And I love the closing remarks of Professor Julia that we are linking hands as we are talking together, and let's also pull ourselves and others. You don't go up alone. So thank you. I want to appreciate you as I close this session. And I give you all God's blessing upon you. You've done a wonderful job. And apologies for some of the hiccups with the internet. We appreciate all of you. Thank you, Honorable Ayen, for standing strong with us. You see now, South Sudan is also doing wonderful. There is great hope for South Sudan. Thank you so much, and greeting to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.